Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. It's Kim. Today I am coming to you with a tutorial, and you may have seen others on YouTube similar. This is for a pair of Converse shoes that I am decorating, otherwise known as Chucks. Mine happen to be leather and white, so this is the pair that I received, and this is a project that Defy is doing, which is the Disabled Artists Foundation Inc. So you might see some other people's tutorials where they decorated or altered their shoes as well. So this is my tutorial. I do have a theme in mind, which is kind of fun. You won't be able to figure out my theme probably until the next step. So just to prepare my shoes, all I did was take the little sponge that comes with it. When you order a pair of shoes, you get the shoes and they come and they have shoelaces. I've just removed mine here. You get a little sponge where one side is a sponge and the other side is like a magic eraser. So I just cleaned off my shoes, so they're pretty clean as you can see. And then I removed my shoelaces because there's going to be a plan for those. So with my theme in mind, it's going to be steps where I'm going to have to let things dry and set. So this is step one because we're going to have to let some things dry. This first step we're going to do. So I've just got a piece of paper underneath my toe because I want to add glitter on this rubber toe. And if you can see, there's a little tiny ridges right here at the edge of the toe. So it's going to kind of be a good little guide for where I want to stop with my embellishment. So I know many of you are going to cringe, but I love glitter. So this first step involves I'm going to completely glitter the toe. So I've just got some glitter here in a little glass jar. You can use any kind you want. I don't remember which brand this is. And I chose it because like this Nuvo glitter, it has a really green kind of sheen. And with my color scheme, the one that I chose has more of a pinkish hue, so that's why I chose this one. And I need something to put over this toe that's going to be able to be controlled and that will act as an adhesive for my glitter. So what I am going to use is my glossy accents. If you don't have any glossy accents and you want to do something like this, if you have something like this, it's Deco Art Media Liquid Glass. Same kind of principle. This one is completely clear when it dries. It's not what we're using it for, but you could use it to do this. So we want to be precise. I don't want any glitter to cross over this black line at the toe. So I am going to tape a piece of cardstock because it's not flimsy like copy paper. So I'm going to use this and tape it because in case it does spill over, it'll at least stop it from running down over to the front here. So I'm just going to use some masking tape and try and glue this bad boy on here to minimize the messiness and hopefully not get any glitter and glossy accents where I don't want it. So you guys are doing this with me, so wish me luck. I'm trying to make it where you can see what I'm doing here. I want to tape this on really well. So we're going to get this masking tape all the way around here. Get it tight like that as we can. Okay, so now all I'm going to do, you can see I've got my little paper guide here, and I'm going to try not to go over that black line. And just keep in mind, you know, glossy accents, it can, you know, run a little bit. So you might want to have something like a little paintbrush handy in case you start to go over, or, you know, even one of these guys. So I'm going to try as precisely as I can. First, I'm going to have to use my little pin. It's the worst thing about glossy accents. You've got to have a pin standing by so you can get that glossy accents coming out of that little nozzle tip. So bear with me while I do that. Unclog it. Okay, I think we're good to go. So I'm going to try to be as precise as I can and get this glossy accents. And you could even use a brush, which is probably what I'm going to do. I'm probably just going to squeeze some here, as you guys can see. I've kind of squeezed some on there. And then I am going to take a brush and just see it's kind of starting to run. So before it runs, we're going to kind of use the brush and spread it where we want it to go without crossing that black line, which this is kind of handy because at least you have a built-in guide on your shoe. So you want to try and just kind of get an even coat and make sure you don't miss any areas, because any areas you miss, obviously you're not going to have glitter on it. Okay, so I think I have a pretty even coat here. I'm going to put this down, and then obviously I have this piece of paper down here so I can catch the rest of the glitter. So we're going to pour a generous amount, which is why I used this bottle, because it's got a big opening, because we're just going to cover this with glitter to make sure we get it where we need it to be. Obviously we don't want to get it all over the shoe, because you know how glitter is, you'll never get it off. But if you do happen to get any on the leather part of your shoe, I would say just wipe it with a dryer sheet and that should get most of it off. That's just a little hack for you. Okay, I'm literally going to be super liberal and generous with this glitter. All I'm going to do is just end up putting it back in the bottle, so it's not going to be wasted. Okay, so you can see I've got a pretty liberal coat of glitter on there. Now I need to shake it down a little bit closer. There we go, to the toe. Can you tell now how it's all the way up there? And if you did cross the black line, like I can see a little bit right here, we're going to get that off after the fact. So for now, you just want to make sure you have an even coat, which it appears that we do. Shake it to make sure it's all the way up to the line there. Okay, so then I am going to pause this, because this is a stopping point where we want to let this you know, set really well to make sure we have a good hold. So we're going to leave this overnight to dry and come back to do the next step on our shoe. So I will see you back soon. Okay, so as you can see, I have taken off my little tape and my guard, and I think my glitter toe came out pretty cool on my shoe, and I cleaned up where I may have gotten little drops on the black line there. So I'm happy with how that looks. So I'm going to move on to the next thing I want to do, and this is where you're going to figure out my theme, I think. I'm going to turn this around so I can see what I'm doing better, and I am using a stencil. It's an Eiffel Tower. I cut it off of one of those wheels from the Dollar Tree so I could use it on this project, and I am going to stencil my Eiffel Tower on the tongue here of my shoe. So to keep it holding up, I'm going to stick this ball of chenille thread in here so I've got a good place to hold it up, and then I am going to try and get some of this excess glitter off, and I'm just going to use some masking tape and tape this down, and I'm going to put this as high as I can get it, like right here, and you'll see why shortly. So I'm just going to use some masking tape and try to get this taped down in place. And then because this shoe is leather, I can't really paint on it. The only thing that I can think of that I know will stick is going to be a Sharpie. So that is what I'm going to use on this. I'm going to color this Eiffel Tower in with a black Sharpie. So wish me luck. This has to be a little bit on the precise side. I don't think that's centered. There we go. And I'm not using the letters, so I can tape over that. We're just gonna tape this down really good, as much as we can. And then I think what I'm gonna do is put my hand in here too. And let's put a little piece on the top here, just in case, for good measure, because I really want the stencil flush with the shoe as much as possible. So I'm going to keep this here, but I'm also going to use my other hand to kind of hold it down. So I'm just going to take my Sharpie. It's kind of like a fatter tip, and I'm just going to kind of push down and use my little stencil here. And then you'll see afterwards I'm going to go back over it with a skinnier one if I need to once I take the stencil off. So this is just kind of initial to get the shape on here. I think this is going to be cute when it's done. Trying to stay in the stencil. And keep my hand down there. We'll see what we need to fix when we take the stencil off. Okay. So I think that looks pretty good. I am gonna put my fat Sharpie down and carefully take off the tape. Get this stencil off. Okay, so you can see our image, and we're just going to use a really fine point Sharpie here. We can take this out and just touch up any little boo-boos where we see it's uneven, like down here at the bottom. We want to make this a better looking shape. Fix that up, make this one a little fatter to match it. I do love this idea though, and the next thing we're going to do is dress up the shoelaces. So I'm just going to take a minute and fix where the Sharpie may have bled because it was a thicker Sharpie. Just make it look a little prettier. In case I miss any little spots there. Okay, so you see our Eiffel Tower. So we're going to kind of leave that alone for a little bit so it can dry. And while we're doing that, I'm going to set my shoe to the side and we're going to work on these shoelaces. So what I wanted to do was I wanted to add a little more color since the shoes are white and there's not really a way to paint on the leather other than with a Sharpie, and I'm not really good at drawing. So I'm adding color in different places. So for my shoelace, I've looked at a whole bunch of different sprays in my stash, and the one that I found that I think matches the color that I want is my Distress Oxide in Spun Sugar. So I'm just going to shake that up. Apologize for the noise. We're going to get a little messy. So like I said, my shoe is out of harm's way, and I'm going to spray my shoelace generously with the oxide. And I'm purposely getting it on my mat because we are gonna, let me get my baby wipes. We're gonna drag this shoelace all throughout the oxide to make sure we get the color everywhere. So we're gonna kind of flip it over and drag it around in here to get the color, get the pink on there. We really only need it on one side. It's only going to show on one side. So we're going to focus on making sure we get the front, good coverage on the front. And we're just going to do that and get this all over our shoelace. And then because it's oxide, when we're done, we are going to hit it with our heat gun, not only to dry it so we can move on to the next step, but just so we can kind of seal in that oxide so it'll react with the heat. And then obviously just spray a little more if you need it. doing that till you're happy with the pink. It's the fun part, getting all messy. Just give it a good look over, make sure you've got as much pink on there on your front side. I know it looks like a hot mess, doesn't it? My desk looks like a hot mess. But that's the fun part, messy fun. Who doesn't love getting inky, painty fingers? I do. Okay, so we're just continuing to do that till we're all pink where we want to be pink. All right, so we're going to set this shoelace to the side, and I'm just going to do quick cleanup with my baby wipe here so I can keep working on my mat. Whew, that's a lot of pink. I think I oversprayed and got it off the mat too. Okay, so we're going to clean this up, and then while I'm doing that, off to the side, I'll put it in the middle so you guys can see, I'm just going to hit the shoelace with the heat tool, so I apologize for the sound. Be careful not to burn your fingers while you're doing this. You can always use a little skewer or something to move your shoelace around. And I didn't quite like the look of just the pink, so I wanted to do something else to my shoelace, which is the other reason why we're drying this, because we need it to be dry for the next step. Plus, we want to make sure this color is not going to come off on your hands every time you go to tie your shoelaces. Okay, so for the next step, I am going to do something different, and I'm going to stamp on my shoelaces. And of course, I did not get out my ink pad. Oh my goodness. I thought I had it sitting here. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys. I'm going to stamp it. Oh, and the stamp just came off the block. I'm going to be using this stamp that's got French words on it because remember, we're doing a Parisian theme. So I'm going to get my black ink pad, permanent, so it won't smear or bleed or anything like that on our shoelaces. If I can find it. I've got my black Set Distress ink, and I'm going to alternate. I'm going to stamp, you know, it's 3 different sayings on here, so we're going to do the first, the second, the third. We're going to alternate. So I'm just going to get the very tip of the stamp, ink on the stamp, and if you over ink, just take a little baby wipe and wipe off the ink on the part of the saying that you didn't want to have ink on. So I've just got ink on the first little part of the word, and I'm just going to put it down on my shoelace, give a little bit of pressure, and stamp. So we're going to continue doing that all the way through the shoelace with the different sayings. Okay, so when you are finished with that, your shoelace is going to look like this. So we've got the different words and sayings on our shoelace all the way through. And that just gives your shoelace a little extra interest. So that's what we're going to do. We'll put those on at the very end. We're going to let those cure a little bit more. Get off this oxide. Whew, pink everywhere. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to do was I was wanting to add more color still to our shoe. So I wanted to do something right here where this rubber is, if you can see, it starts all the way on the side and there's texture on it. It's got ridges on the top part and it's got kind of like a bump on the bottom part, and this goes all the way around to here. And I didn't have the correct shade of pink Sharpie to color it, so I was trying to think of what I could do instead. So I wanted to do some ribbon. So I got some pink gingham ribbon, and I'm actually going to put that from here to here, covering the first part of the toe where the grooves are. And adhesive for this, I thought it best. I could have used Fabri-Tac. I didn't want to. It's super expensive, so I decided to go with my E6000. So I'm going to adhere that with some E6000. If I can get the get it to come out. You guys know the struggle with E6000. And I'm trying not to get it all over myself because this stuff is stinky and toxic and all of that. Okay, so we're going to put our E6000 along this part where the grooves are, generously, because we don't want this ribbon to come off. We're going to try to keep it off of our clothes and our hands because it is so toxic and a pain to get off. So if you don't like odors, you might want to do this in a well ventilated area because E6000 definitely has a smell. Okay, so we're going to start on one side here and carefully put our ribbon on and just follow the curve, gently patting. And if there's any excess E6000 when you're gently tapping the ribbon into place, just use your finger and try to wipe it off. Or if you've got one of these little things, you can use that to get it off where you didn't mean to have it while it's wet before it dries. It's easier to get it off wet than when it's dry. So we're just going to continue to do that all the way around, making sure we get it in the right spot. Tapping. I'm going to press down a little bit harder at the ends here, because what we're going to do, just to give that some fun, we're going to put a little bling on the little ends right here. But before we do that, we're going to do something else with another piece of ribbon. I'm going to put some ribbon right here along the bottom piece on the back, because I think that'd be another little cute area to put a pop of color. So again, I am going to put some E6000 there. We're actually going to put this over the top of the shoe and glue it right inside here, just so it won't come off. Okay, but before I do that, I am going to stamp on this little piece of ribbon too to match what we did with the shoelaces, just for some extra interest. And I'm going to use the bottom part of the stamp, the part that says Champs-Élysées, and we're going to carefully stamp that right smack in the middle of our ribbon. Just like that. Isn't that cute? And that is going to go right here. We're going to put it so it's centered. We can cut off the excess ribbon in a second. Okay, so now we've got it attached to the inside of our shoe. As you can see here, and I am just going to take the scissors and snip off this little piece at the end that is too much. Try to keep my scissors out of the E6000. I don't like working with it, but I for this project I really think it was the only option. Okay, so we are done with stamping. So you can put inks and stamp stuff away if you were trying this at home. And since we've got this now on here and our ribbon on the front, we're going to add a little bling. Again, with our E6000, I'm just going to wipe off the nozzle because you guys know how that stuff is. It kind of oozes out everywhere. So you probably want to keep like a baby wipe handy. Sorry for the noise. To wipe that excess off because you know how it gets all over your fingers and oh, stuff is a mess. Okay, so I've got some little teeny tiny pieces of pink bling. And we're going to use some E6000 to put those on. I don't know if you guys can see how tiny those are. So we're going to put some of those on here and we're going to attach them with this. Okay, so I'm just going to put a tiny, like a little goes a long way with this stuff and it will run. So I'm putting a tiny little dot at the top here where the bling is going to go and a tiny little dot on the bottom where the bling is going to go. And then use my little pick-me-up tool. And then use the other end to tap them down and try and get off the excess there. Make sure they're good and straight. Just like that. We're going to do this again on the bottom. Just like that. I think that's super cute. So now we're going to do that on the sides where we put the ribbon on the rubber part by the toe. Remember, you don't need that much E6000 for this. I mean, a little bit because it comes out fast and it runs, so just a little tiny daub of it, I guess is the right word. I don't know if that's a technical term, but we're just going to say a little daub of it. And we're going to do the same thing. Put a couple little pink blings here. And I'm doing this color scheme like the black and white and the pink because that is the colors of my craft room, and these shoes, when they're all done, they're going to go on display in my craft room. So I thought that was the inspiration, and I want to thank my bestie Tammy the Crafting Disaster for helping me come up with this theme. I was racking my brains during my beach vacation trying to figure out how I could get these shoes pink, since they're leather, and you know there's not a lot of ways to paint leather, and I wasn't sure of what theme I was gonna do. I was gonna cover them all in different things, like put vintage buttons all over them or different things, but Tammy had the great idea of Paris and matching my craft room so I could display them, so I was really happy about that. So thank you for that assist. Okay, so you guys can see we've got two little blings on the sides here that match the back of the toe, and I really like how that looks. So we're not done with the little pink blings. While we have them out, since our tongue has had enough time to dry, we are going to carefully put some E6000 right over this part of the Eiffel Tower, and we're going to put some pink blings there as well. I apologize, it's kind of boring watching me glue things down. Okay, and I am right away going to pick up that extra E6000 that was on the white part with my fingernail. And here we go. I think we're going to be able to fit 5 on there. And again, you place them with this end, and then once you have them where you want them, you tap them in place with the other end of this stick. Okay. Just like that. I'm happy with the way that looks, so we're gonna move on. Pick up all these little blings that are all over my desk now. Hope you guys are enjoying this so far. Since also our glitter cured overnight, we are going to add a little more pink. We're going to add another little pop of pink right here where the toe ends and the leather meets. And remember, there's tiny little like notches there. So I didn't want to do the ribbon. I wanted something a little more foo-foo, I guess. So we are going to put a tiny piece of this pink lace on there. So again, I'm using E6000 because I want this stuff to stay on here. Even though I'm not going to wear these shoes, I don't want them to be falling apart. So I'm doing a very thin line on the rubber. And we're just going to adhere this. And make sure we get it in there really well so it will curve and stay on there. Make sure we wipe off the excess. I have E6000 fingers now. And if you're not happy with that, you can put a little dot there because it's not laying flat. Let's scoot this back over on the rubber. There we go. Just for some added interest there on our toe. Sorry, it's hard for me to do it upside down. I have to make sure I get it on there straight. Okay, just like that. We're coming along. And I will put the shoelaces on when we come back. I'll do that off camera and show you. I just want to make sure that the Sharpie is dry before they do that. Because once we put the shoelaces on, we're going to need to do something to preserve and protect our shoe before we move on to the last step. Okay, so I will be back shortly and you will see the shoelaces on, and I also decided I am going to add a little charm on my shoe after I put the shoelaces on. So all I did was, because it's going to go through one of the holes where the shoelaces go here, and I just took a black bulb pin and I added a little tiny Eiffel Tower charm and a little tiny bead dangle that I purchased from Misty, who is Misty Blackburn. There you go. Mac Designs on Etsy. So those are going to hang off of one of these. So they'll be on my shoe when we come back. So be right back. Okay, so here you see I have got my stamped shoelaces on my shoe, and I didn't lace them all the way up because I wanted you to be able to see the Eiffel Tower there on the tongue, and then you can see the little bulb pin with the Eiffel Tower and little pink bead dangles charms on there. So I think that looks really, really cute. I'm happy with that. But I am a girl who likes sparkle and glitter and bling and all of that. So we are going to take it up a notch and keep going and add some beautiful bling. Yes, we're going to put some rhinestone box chain just about everywhere where you see this stitching. So all along these stitching lines, we're going to put some bling. So again, we're going to get out our trusty E6000, and I am going to carefully attempt to do this. Same thing as I said earlier, I'm going to have my little thing handy here so I can wipe off any excess E6000 because a little bit goes a long way. Okay, so we put that piece there, and I just cut off a piece, and I guesstimated because I hate to measure. I would not be good at any crafts that you have to be super precise because it takes away from the process for me, and I just want to enjoy making it, so I don't like having to stop and measure all the time. So you're going to fiddle with this a little bit like I'm about to and get off your excess glue. Make sure you've got everything nice and straight. So I'm just going to do that right now where I see I've got extra glue blobs that don't need to be there. Making sure that we keep this really straight. And what I find is if you just kind of hold one finger down at the end here and then kind of make sure it's straight, and then I can go around my little curve here exactly where it should be. Just like that. And I'm just going to take my little scissors and snip off right where the end is. Don't worry, we're going to use that little piece that we cut off, and then I'm just going to get off the little extra glue dots here. Now come on, that is pretty. I love that. It makes a little more bling bling, which we love. So we're going to continue and do that on this side of the shoe. I'm not going to go up here where these parts of the stitching are in case you want to lace these all the way up or because the charms are here. So we're just going to do from here down, and then we're going to do right here as well. So yeah, I'm going to have you guys do it with me on the one side, and then I will come back after the other side is done and showed you. And this is basically the last step. I think this has been done as much as I can do. I'm going to go ahead and put all the glue down first, and then I'll put my rhinestones, and then I'll come back and show you the finished project. Let's do this big one first. Like I said, hold it down really carefully on one end, and if you're having trouble keeping the rhinestone facing up, just kind of gently twist it, and that keeps the rhinestone facing up. And like I said, oop, got it stuck on my fingers, the glue. So I'm happy with that curve, but there's lots of glue, so I am going to first cut off so the weight of this bottom piece isn't. Come on, scissors. There we go. The weight of this bottom piece isn't pulling it off of my shoe. Tap it down real good, make sure you've got the curve how you want it, and then I'm going to take my little handy dandy silicone tool here and get off some of the extra glue. You can also rub like that. I just got that on there accidentally, and it does come off because you guys know how goopy this stuff is. Okay, and it's on my fingers too. We're just gonna get it all off here. I can already feel that there is a majorly good hold on this. So this bling is not coming off of this shoe anytime soon. Okay, so you can see that, and now we'll do these two little pieces and you'll get the idea of how cool this is gonna look. Oh, and we've got a little piece up front here. Let me do that before I forget. And this is perfect for our little extra pieces that we've cut off. I'm just gonna, this one's gonna be fussy because it's a tiny little piece. Get you where we need it. Tedious, but worth it, because I definitely think this takes it up a notch and gives it a lot more interest and makes it look prettier. All right, now you can see we've got that little piece there too. We couldn't forget that piece. All right, 2 more, and then I will be back to show you the other side and what it looks like all done. Exciting, we're almost finished. Okay, so we're gonna put the top piece right here. Just be careful when you're putting this on that you're not upsetting the pieces that you've already glued down. Okay, so that looks pretty good. Sorry about the scissor banging. I'm famous for that. Okay, one more piece. I'm loving the way this looks though, I'm not gonna lie. I love that. I love bling. Oh, that looks really good right there. So we'll snip it off. Pat it down really good so we know we're in the right spot, and ta-da, we've got some blingy chucks. Love it. All right, so I am going to turn this around and do the other side, and I'll be back to show you all the finished project. Okay, here is a look at the finished product. I went ahead and glued my rhinestone box chain to the other side of my shoe. So as you guys can see, we've got bling and ribbon and little charms, and we've got our Eiffel Tower popping up here on our tongue, and our little stamped shoelaces and our glitter toe. So these are my finished chucks. You can see this one, I've got a fleur-de-lis charm on this one. I hope you enjoyed watching this tutorial, and if you do try this at home, one step that I forgot to mention is before you glue on all of your bling, I would recommend some clear coat, the can that can be used for leather, and spray your entire shoe before you start putting on the dimensional stuff, which is the rhinestones, and that way you know they're protected if you're actually going to be wearing your shoes. So these are going to be displayed proudly in my Paris themed craft room. So thank you again for watching. Please give me a thumbs up if you liked this project, and make sure to subscribe if you're new to my channel. And of course, if you haven't heard of Defy, please check out www.disabledartist.org or the Hart channel on YouTube for all of the information that you can get about the disabled artists, because this was done for inspiration, because everyone that is in Defy receives packages from Defy will be getting a pair of these shoes to decorate themselves. So thanks again. Hope you all have a great day. Bye-bye.